Are you ready?
Starting now?
Well, now you just messed it up, you knob. God, you know that the shit that we go through for this, huh?
I know. Fuckers better appreciate it. What's the
right.
title of this podcast again?
I don't know. Objects, I don't know. Something with a penis, I guess.
Right.
Our fucking faces are everywhere now.
Right.
But
You're welcome, ladies.
Right. Popular with the ladies. Right. Oh, I'm not even going to apologize because hopefully it sounds fucking hilarious.
Yeah, totally. This is fucking explicit now.
The explicit button. Let me use my finger.
La, 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 la.
It is time for another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And that episode starts now. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of Sober, Not Mature. And just for everyone's, we haven't talked about technology issues in a little bit, but so let's just start off with a little bit of a short story here. We were gonna test out having a guest on. It was going to be Mike's girlfriend, Chris, and tried to send links off and this and that. And then Chris connected and Mike couldn't connect and he's getting cut off and all this different stuff. So now he's completely connecting in a different way. And we figured out when we finally connected here, 21 minutes later,
Yes.
after literally, and I'm not kidding, 12 tries. I was counting before we connected here. Like
nice.
10, at least. Yeah. But so apparently we can talk now at the same time. So I don't know if our free service upgraded itself and we had to go through a little bit of hell. You know, once again, this goes back to, you should be telling me patience.
Right. Yeah. I don't have much myself right now, but all right.
So this is one of those times that it only took us 12 times, to get down to this recording, but so I guess we're dealing with technology issues again. that is what it is. So let's get on to some fun stuff, and both of us were obviously in our heads bitching a little bit about what's going on here, but how about listening to our statistics? You want to hear our statistics? They're good.
Sure, why not? Let's see if that'll work.
All right, so followers on Instagram. We actually had a big week on both sides, the plays and the followers. Followers, we were up 107 new followers this week.
Wow.
So 1,555 followers on Instagram. And as far as plays on the podcast, we were up 113 new plays. So we have 1,449 plays now on the podcast. So a little bit of I don't know, it's been the last couple of weeks have been, some nice growth on both sides. You're the top 5 episodes again. Yours is still number 1. You got 105. Episode 13 is at 96. Episode number 1, which is mine, is at 93. I was in the number 2 slot for one day. I just happened to look at the stats on on like Tuesday, and then I got kicked out again. So episode number 10, favorite one, vodka bottle episode at 87. And then episode number 4, once again, our first 30 days is at 84. So same deal here. I seriously think, and I'd have to look back, but I think those 5 episodes have been in that top 5. It has to be for like 2 months now, which is cool. So, maybe we haven't had anything worthwhile to get a lot of plays since then. So who knows? All right. And as far as the demographic breakdown, female percentage of listeners is still 55%. I think the men popped up 1% this week at 42, but chicks and females, you are still the winners. Bring it on right now. Here's the other thing, and I did a little bit of I happen to pop on to, well, first of all, Anchor is run by Spotify. So some of our statistics are Spotify only, and then we should be able to, like, our plays and things like that, I thought were all like combined between Apple and Spotify and Google Podcasts and whatever. But I had to go on Apple Podcasts this week, and they're showing us at like 1,600 plays through Apple.
Really?
And yeah, and on the app it shows us at 1,500. So I'm like, are we at like 3,000? I haven't gotten an answer on that, but bottom line is that right now it wouldn't make any sense for Apple to have Spotify statistics.
Sure.
Something's, and I was reading all this different stuff trying to figure it out, and it just gave me a headache. But the one way or the other, we'll figure that out. Either way, we're growing. We appreciate everyone that's listening, everyone that's new following us. This is the first episode you listen to. I'd apologize, but this is what it is. So keep listening or don't.
Right.
So here's a funny thing. We had talked about, 6-7 episodes ago now, about 90% of podcasts failing within that first year. Right. So in doing all of this research on trying to find the statistics, I found, the analytics stuff, I ran across another statistic in two different places. It said that 80% of podcasts fail before they hit 10 episodes.
Yeah, that one I have heard.
Really?
Yeah. I you know what? At some point I had it in my head that when we got to 11, I was going to mention that, and apparently I didn't.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny because the article said it's like, well, if you're anywhere over that, you're in the top 20, and I'm like, fucking A right we are, man.
That's right.
So I thought that was kind of cool because I had never heard that before. So, but that was a whole nother thing. But yeah, our analytics will figure out one way or the other. Keep listening. We're enjoying the hell out of ourselves. We're getting a lot more interaction. And a couple of things too. And I don't know if you saw it, Mike. I posted up about your radio gig coming up. I did a collage and a picture. I'm going to keep promoting that. Ernie, obviously we both know Ernie. He ended up sending a message this morning asking, he thought that maybe it was tonight. So that's what prompted me to do that post today. And then we'll keep doing that because, it's just a little over a month away, right? August 26th.
Yep.
Okay. And then just as a reminder for everyone, and like I said, we'll keep talking about it, but I did add it to our sponsor page on our website. Cool. It was also just in our Instagram post today, so you can take a look at it on there. But worst case scenario, all the information and any new information will go up on the website, SoberNotMature.com. Hit the sponsor link. You're going to be able to see the Keating Center's on there. Also, Mike's radio thing, and we'll add things to that as we go. And I posted on Instagram today too, and we got some great feedback. I would like to, if we can, try to set up a resources page on our website. Things like AA and NA, maybe a central office, the Keating Center, anything else that basically any of our followers or listeners think would be a good thing to link on there. Links to like meeting locators. One guy sent me a link to an app that he uses for a meeting finder when he travels. Things like that. Maybe a sobriety counter. I don't know. But I've gotten some decent things. And actually, there's been 5 people so far, 5 of our followers that said, hey, put my Instagram handle on there. If anyone wants to reach out to me directly, I'd be more than happy to help. And nice. I was like, yeah. So I got to figure out how to do it. But I'm sure that's the next thing that I want to try to figure out. I just thought it'd be nice to have, we're talking about trying to help people here too. And regardless of what it is, whether it's AA based or different type of recovery or whatever it is, gives us an opportunity where, I don't know if people are just interested in, reaching out to some different links and services and that sort of thing. They have a place to go.
Cool.
So other thing too, I put up on Instagram, I put a poll and I was asking a question because I ask at the end of every episode, I put on there, what do you guys want us to talk about? I haven't gotten any recent suggestions, but I was able to set up this poll in our Instagram story. Basically said, what would you rather have us talk about, getting sober or living sober? And what do you think? Which one do you think won?
Living.
You're right.
Yeah.
And it was huge. I don't know how many people responded to it, but 88% talked about living sober, and that kind of leads me into the first question that I had, because the gentleman made this exact statement. He said, well, first of all, he said definitely living sober because he commented on it, but then he said, life on life's terms. Okay.
Right.
So we talk about that. And I know we've said that term, I don't know how many times, but maybe if somebody's either new to recovery or has never really, I don't know, dipping into it, whatever the case is, maybe we can talk a little bit about what that means. What does life on life's terms mean?
Yeah.
So what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, dealing with technology and not throwing my phone across the room. Right. Prime example, I'm still worn out. I got COVID, man. I got sick last week. I felt like garbage. And, not honestly, I just thought of this right now. Not once feeling awful did I think about picking up, medicating myself, making myself feel better, because that's just not part of my life today. I was sick. I felt like shit. And that was that. It wasn't even a thought. Well, yeah, I could, suck down half a fifth of vodka and I'd feel pretty good, but it wasn't a thought. It's just, it's not how I live my life today. Yeah, that's my example at the top of my head. Like I said, I'm tired now. I'm worn out. I hadn't mowed my lawn in 2 weeks, so I needed to get my ass up this morning and do that, and I did. And after about an hour and a half, I was exhausted. Oh well. I could go score some crack and wake right up, but I don't think I will today.
Not at the moment, right? What time is it? Not as of right now, right?
As of right now, at 8:38 Eastern time.
Right, real time, as you say.
Exactly.
So, little side note on that, because it was kind of funny. So when I've lived in, well, now I'm in Indiana temporarily, but I've been in the central time zone for more of my life than any place else. But I've lived in Cleveland a couple of different times, lived in Pittsburgh for a little bit. And after being in Cleveland for 3 years and a couple of months and coming back here, and I was looking forward to a couple of things about Central Time, because like football games don't get over so late. If I do want to watch the news, which I don't,
right?
The news gets over a little bit earlier. So, I make mention of that. And then Mike's always been the one that's called Eastern Time real time. So there was a couple of times coming back from Cleveland that I just crossed over into the time zone, and I stopped at a rest area. And I remember the one, I'm like, oh, good, finally back to real time. And you just laughed. But yeah, so yeah, I'm still in Central Time and you're in real time. So I'll accept that. But yeah, so the life on life's terms, and I know that you kind of laughed at that because part of it is that and maybe I'm looking at this wrong, or maybe the laughing was a different thing, but it's one of those things. Well, of course, because you and I just think about it. Well, it is what it is, right? I mean, we've been doing this thing for long enough where life on life's terms is just life
living.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And in anything, and but the technology issues that we went to, and seriously, I have probably now 4 different, or at least 3 different clips that I have to edit through because the connection kept dropping down. And what Mike is having to do, you touching your screen now? Are
you? Right now.
Because we figured out that Mike's connecting a different way tonight for whatever reason. The app's directing him in a different way. So when his screen, obviously goes to sleep, it was cutting us off,
Right.
So and seriously, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm looking at the time, and I'm sure he's looking at the time. And I mean, both of us are probably like, motherfucker, because I think maybe we've been too lucky, or fortunate, or what you want to call it. These recordings have gone pretty smoothly over the last, I don't know, month or so, right? A couple months.
Sure. Yeah.
So we were due for a little life on life's terms.
Absolutely.
But what's funny too, when you talked about when you're getting sick, usually and I'm glad you brought up about not thinking about drinking, because there's a lot of times now when I don't feel good, you know, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I could get over this, and I'm bitching and moaning or whatever. And then
Right.
I think about how shitty I used to feel, or the fact that I felt like that every day
Right.
because I drank myself into that feeling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me trying to practice gratitude. It doesn't always work, but and I don't know. I guess to wrap up this whole life's on life's terms in a in a nice little bow is that just because we or you or anyone gets sober doesn't mean that life changes. It just means that now we're 100% present for it, and life's gonna kick you in the teeth or in the balls or whatever one you
Or
want to
both.
choose. It's
Life's got 2 feet. It'll get both of them.
right. Kick you in the if you're for the ladies, it'll kick you someplace else. You can figure that out on your own. But life is gonna happen. So, but yeah, life on life's terms. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting because it just came up, when that guy had commented about that. So yeah, I was just kind of curious to your actual thought about that. But another thing that came up, and I've been listening to again that same podcast, but now I'm to her or her newer episodes. I'm into like her first 15 episodes, and it's actually funny. It's interesting listening back at how poised she became and how comfortable she became, and start thinking about us. You ever listen back to a couple of the new episodes or first episodes that we had? It's funny when I listen back to my story the one time, and it's short. It's only 15 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, I sound like some dude from fucking NPR or something like that. But all I was doing at that point, I didn't know what I was doing. It was the first thing that we recorded, and I'm talking to, I'm talking to air. But here, it's so much easier. We get to, obviously, I don't know, we get to bring out our personalities a little bit because we're talking to each other,
Right.
But so one of the things, she's the one that had brought that up about this particular thing. But she said that a lot of people out there that are looking to get sober, that sort of thing, they're waiting for and I'm using air quotes here, the perfect time, to get sober. So did you ever, through all the things you went through, and if guys, if you haven't listened to his story, you should. Okay. But through all that time, did you ever like have it in your head that this is the time, this is a good time to get sober, or this is not a good time to get sober?
Well, you said, the perfect time, right? Everything's got to line up perfectly, and then I'll stop drinking. Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Right. And that never happened because nothing's ever perfect. So I continue to drink. But oh yeah, absolutely, man. If only this would happen, and this would happen, and this would happen, and then this would happen, then I'll stop drinking. Get the girl, get the job, get the car, get the, get the house, get the whatever. And then, right. And which of course is completely backwards because, I need to stop drinking. Then I'll get the car and the house and the girl and the job. Imagine that. So
Well,
yeah, in my head, definitely. If things wouldn't be so shitty, I wouldn't have to drink so much. Oh wait, things are so shitty because I drink so much.
Yeah, and I've heard it talked about. I mean, I heard it talked about. We've heard it talked about in meetings for years. Is that and Joe, our sponsor in Cleveland, used to say that he could never line up the dots. He didn't realize that. And none of us did. I mean, I didn't. With the exception when I had my light bulb moment when I said that I wasn't that bad. So I thought about how bad I was, but I had no plans to quit drinking. So I didn't go through that. But when we first got sober, they kept telling us that just relax, get your shit together. Your kids will be there, your bills will be there, and all these different things. And because all of us are like, I mean, just we're just this, I don't know, just this massive mess of energy because we're like, well, now I got to go to work. Now I got to go. Right. Now I got to take care of my child. Now I want to be nice to my family. I want to go do all this stuff. And I didn't want to accept. Well, and again, I didn't want to accept anything. And it was so funny last week because I was cutting up the episode clips this week when I was talking about the Father's Day thing. And I'm like, oh, you remember that when I was talking when you said when we were selling pops, and I'm like, oh, you remember that? And you're like, yeah, and I remember your attitude too.
I do.
and that to me is so fucking hilarious because I remember being mad, but I didn't realize that I had such an open attitude about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, once again, we think we're fooling people.
I was just fucking oblivious. I was oblivious when I was drinking. I was oblivious when I'm trying to get sober. But and that even to this day, every once in a while, I mean, there's been plenty of times over the years when you brought shit up to me and I'm just like, really? I didn't know I was doing that. So I'm a work in progress. Progress, not perfection. Come on.
Yep, exactly.
But so yeah, that was just it was interesting because they were and I knew what your answer was going to be, but it was just something they had talked about that and like exactly what you just said. And I was thinking that you were going to go into that detail because that's perfect because we talk about that, figuring all these things have to line up, and then I'm going to do this.
Right.
Which we don't realize that this elephant in the room, this drunk ass elephant over here, is the one that's causing all our problems.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was kind of interesting. But so another thing that this just kind of crossed my mind again, probably because of the and so many of these things just halfway assume that I'm hearing them on the podcast. I'm listening to them kind of in the background while I'm working now since I'm remote. It's nice. I could just have that stuff playing while I'm doing shit, you know? But did you ever go through, I mean, for anything, whether it was marriage counseling, drug and alcohol counseling, did you ever do any therapy, counseling, anything like that?
No, not really. No.
Okay. Well, and I didn't remember if I'm pretty sure that you and I had never talked about that because when it crossed my mind, I'm like, man, I don't even have a half an inkling of if you did.
So, actually, sort of did. I had one of the times I attempted to get sober. I went into a what was called a transitional living situation. It was through Volunteers of America. And it was when I got my CDL. I went to school for that and all that good stuff, my commercial driver's license. And yeah, I did have to go in once a week now that I think about it and talk about my feelings. And it was all bullshit. You know, I just went in there and lied. So yeah, sort of, but not really.
Okay, and that was the other thing I was going to ask you what you got out of it, but you just answered that question too.
Not a goddamn thing because I didn't put anything into it.
Right, and I went through couples counseling with my daughter's mom in the same thing. At the time we did it, I think we just did it. I know we did. We just did it to go through the motions. We were pretty much done, I think, at that time anyhow. And it was, well, of course, I felt like I was being attacked because I was. Mike, just sit down for a minute. If you're not sitting down, this is going to surprise you. I was kind of a dick to her on most occasions. I know. Even back then, this is like 30 years ago. I was that way. Yeah, I just didn't want to shock you. But so the entire time, it's like, and Dave Chappelle talks about it, one of his stand-up things, where his girl comes up to him, it's like, David, we have to talk. And he's like, fuck. Because every time we got to talk about something that I need to do. Right. Which that's what it was. But I mean, granted and clearly, I was being a dick through the whole thing. Nobody is flawless, and we both had our points, but granted, I was the problem. So I went through the drunk classes, which I talked about. That was, I guess, a form of counseling, which we know I didn't try there. Right. And then when Dawn and I were getting to the point of getting our divorce, we each went to individual counselors. I don't know if we ever went to one directly or together. I'm sorry, but I thought that we were individually going to counseling to get back together. So basically, I was in there complaining about her. So again, all I did was this counselor I had. She was wonderful because she actually, I think, honestly, I think she listened to half my bullshit, which is crazy now that I think about it. Uh, had to go through alcohol assessments, of course, tried to lie through those. I
Hmm.
had to go through a counselor when we were going through a custody battle. And this dude was a sober alcoholic. And that was kind of a mess too. You know, the only thing that he got me to admit, because he was talking about like the 5 stages of grief type of thing, but
Right.
he was talking about it more in the sense trying to get me to admit that you're an alcoholic and again, denial and all those different things, applying the 5 stages of grief to my alcoholism, not to my
Hmm.
impending divorce and now my child custody battle. So that's the way I looked at it. I'm like, oh man, yes, I'm going through all this because I'm being wronged.
Right.
So again, for me, it didn't work.
Right.
Um, I've done absolutely nothing with any type of counseling or therapy since I got sober. I wouldn't be, if I got to the point, I suppose, where, I'm like, okay, I'm doing all these different things for sobriety
Hmm.
and something still feels off. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I just don't
No.
feel the need because I don't have I don't know, I don't have any of this gnawing stuff. They talk so much about, the trauma stuff that you and I had talked about. And we figured out that, neither one of us really have anything specific
Hmm.
that caused us to drink. But no, I mean, it was more of a curiosity thing because I don't know. I don't feel like I have anything else gnawing at me with the exception of my raging alcoholism that I'm trying to keep in check.
Exactly. Right. And I mean, 90% of counseling is just talking, getting it out there, your problems, I'm using air quotes there, your feelings, your whatever. And that's what we do in the program. We talk to each
Right.
other, you know. A problem shared is a problem cut in half. I personally, I don't need to go talk to I'm using the air quotes again, professional, because most of those people don't understand us anyway. They don't know where we're coming from. I go talk to another drunk, he knows exactly what I'm talking about, and he'll tell me to shut the fuck up and do this and do that, and guess what? The problem gets solved.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just made me think about something when you said that. And I can't remember when it was. It was one of our family members that had passed. Actually, I do remember it. It's unimportant. So one of our family members had passed. This was while I was sober, and it
Hmm.
was it was a rough situation on everyone in our family.
Right.
And I know that Mom had asked about that. Kind of us as a group. Kind of going to, because she had basically got involved with a group after our stepdad had passed away, and it
Hmm.
was wonderful. I mean, she was a great group of friends. They used to get
Yeah,
together and they'd go out to lunch, and
I remember.
she had it was a really good, solid group of people. Um, and she had said, she's like, there's this that the place also offers it for families and whatever to help deal with all this stuff. But I said, you know what? I said, I know you're comfortable with those folks and you're happy with them and you
Hmm.
guys have a great bond. I said, you go talk to your people. I
Hmm.
said, I'm going up to Cleveland and talk to mine,
Right.
and I didn't mean it and I know she didn't take it in any particular way, but I
Hmm.
said, that's the that's my church. That's
Yep.
my counseling.
Hmm.
Those are my doctors of any standpoint.
Hmm.
They're you guys are that's what you guys are there for. And
Right.
I remember leading a meeting shortly after that family member passed, and talking about it, and just man, it didn't make it it didn't make it hurt less, but man, it
Hmm.
helped.
Right.
It helped to just get it out, and that's the thing. Even with my dad's passing, my stepdad, and that sort of thing. I mean, those two to this day. My dad passed away over 12 years ago. My stepdad over 11 years ago. Every
Hmm.
single day, both of those guys are still in my prayers because they meant a lot to me, and it
Right.
helps me just. I don't know. For me, the process, whatever
Hmm.
whatever it is, it's I need to do that. I don't plan on taking it out any day soon, but yeah, you made a good point there with that. And I didn't think about that part until you brought it up. So yeah, we're our own little counselors, right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's mentioned in the literature all over the place, man. Group therapy.
Right.
We help each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing, and I remember too. I was actually at that funeral, and I was standing, and the whole family was kind of on a break. And I don't know if you remember the story, but I don't want, I always said standing guard, but kind of I was, because
Hmm.
the viewing area, basically they wanted to give the family time to, to just chill for a minute, get something to eat, whatever the case was. And I said, I'll hang out here, make sure everyone understands that everyone's taking a break.
Hmm.
And this guy walked up, and I don't even know if I know I told you this before, but I just don't. If I repeat myself on here, everyone, sorry.
Yeah.
This is what you get when you know me. So,
Hmm.
um,
Yup.
here it is again. Hmm. So I'm standing there, and this dude walks up, and he's like, hey, he goes, you're part of the Keating Center, aren't you?
Mm.
And and who are you, and why are you asking?
Right.
Because I'm like on the defensive, man. I'm only a couple years sober, 2.5, whatever it is, years sober, man.
Hmm.
I'm a little defensive. And he's like, he goes, no, I'm sorry. I go to the Thursday night meeting. He goes, you're a secretary, right? I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I said, I've never seen you before. And he goes, I go there. I've been going there for forever. Never saw the
Mm.
guy in my life.
Right.
Never, not a glimpse. And he introduces himself. He was a friend of the family and all that. I'm like, cool. And what was weird is that, so I had family around me,
Hmm.
but everything that you were just talking about, I didn't. I guess I did. I felt a little alone because I was so used to being surrounded by you guys and things,
Right.
situations like that. And then you know what? And I don't know, whatever you want to call it a
Mm.
God thing, a universe thing, a higher power thing, people, places, or people and things being put in our path,
Right.
and whatever it is that happened that day, and
Hmm.
it completely it put me at ease,
Right.
and because one of us was there. And then the funny part, and this probably isn't funny, but not the funny part, everyone will figure this out. Every Thursday after that, I noticed that dude every time,
Right.
and I'm like, do you always sit there? And he's like us, man. He goes, yeah. He goes, we're creatures of habit, man. He goes, I sit in the
Hmm.
same place every time. And it
Right.
was right in the middle of the room. I was basically looking over the guy
Hmm.
every time.
Right.
But yeah, so having that placed in, just literally in front of me at that time was awesome. So, but yeah, so I think we're in agreement there that our group is everything we need, at least at the moment.
Right, exactly. And like you said, there's yes, you were with your family and all that stuff, but just having that one drunk there gave you the next level of comfort, because we know that we understand each other in ways that normal people can't.
Yeah, it
Even if
was.
they're family, even if the people we care about, we love, and they love us, and it's all great. But something about, man, one drunk helping another, just being there for each other. It's a pretty damn cool thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's inexplainable,
Hmm.
but we say this how many times? I mean, that there's no clue, no idea either one of us can even put in half an idea on why all this stuff works or the way it
Right.
works, but
Right.
we just know that we know that it does, and we don't question it.
Exactly.
Thankfully. So so kind of back on the same lines as that other podcast. The other thing too, and again, I'm listening to her early episodes. So she talks about, have you ever heard the term, and whether you did or not, you may not have, but have you heard the term of mommy wine culture?
No, I can't say that I run in those circles.
Okay, well, here's the only reason I've ever heard is because of the podcast. She has a
Hmm.
lot of female guests and things like that. Basically, what it is, and I know you've seen the advertising, probably the memes and the shirts and everything like that. That you know, married women or women with kids or whatever, life's
Hmm.
tough, so wine is the answer. That's
All
the
right,
that's
right.
the thing. You're a
Gotcha.
mom, you deserve wine. So it is what it is. It's just like dudes deserve beer and hot
Right.
chicks in those commercials. So I mean,
Exactly.
it's
Of
it's
course
been
they do.
happening. Okay. Oh, you caught me there.
don't
Of course.
don't forget, you're talking to a man who has the Anheuser-Busch eagle tattooed on his arm.
Right. You gotta take a picture of that and send that to me. I'll put that up on Instagram.
All right.
But so she went in, and she had talked about this in a few different episodes along the way. So I mean, I knew it was in the earlier episode, but I forgot about it. But she had even made a comment about the fact that the first time she talked about it, that she really went off. So she went off on two different things: that whole concept, and also the advertising industry and
Mm.
alcohol and advertising and glamorizing and things like that. And I'm not kidding, man. She was about losing her mind, and I'm just like, chill the fuck
Right.
out. I
Yeah.
seriously, I almost shut off the episode because I couldn't deal with it, because the thing that I think about, and I get it. So we realize that all of that stuff, and you agree. I mean, alcohol is glamorized, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
so are cheeseburgers,
Mm-hmm.
and so are really expensive fucking cars,
Right.
and really expensive homes and jewelry and clothing and all that stuff. So was a candy bar. I don't know, like a Snickers bar, all the
Oh
Snickers
yeah,
commercials.
sure. Get that sugar rush, man.
So you take somebody, and I mean, granted, cigarettes aren't advertised on TV, but you walk into a gas station or something like that, it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, if I had, maybe if somebody has cancer, they walk into a store, are they going to get pissed off because these people are advertising cigarettes, or
Mm-hmm.
somebody's got an eating disorder, are they going to get mad about a fucking juicy ass hamburger? I mean, I don't know. It seemed really weird to me. That's why I think I know your opinion, but I mean, do you care how things are advertised?
Not in the least. Okay. Right. I mean, that's right. That's the way the culture is, man. We're not going to change that. And again, COVID brain. So I don't remember if I even brought it up last week, but I mean, you got to remember that I think I did, or an episode before that. The founders of AA did their drinking in the middle of Prohibition. There's, and somewhere in the big book, it talks about we're not supposed to be anti-alcohol. I personally, the prohibition on drugs, I think, is wrong. I think all drugs should be legal. Write your letters to me. But I do, the criminal aspect, the black market aspect, all of that, more than half the crime in this country is caused by drugs being illegal. That's why I didn't do drugs the last 5 years, because it was easier to walk to the corner and get what I needed cheap and legally. So, I wasn't out there beating old ladies over the head to get a bottle of vodka, but yeah, make that shit illegal again. See what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. And I mean, you think about when Amber was little, or I think about when, my son and my stepson, even back when my daughter was little,
right.
You walk into a grocery store, and I mean, they're all pointing out, how does every kid know about McDonald's? How does every kid know about sugared cereals and things like that?
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be a point in, of parenting. You can't blame advertising, like you said, unless you want to go into, some communist nation or communist country or communist setup. There's going to be capitalism, and things are going to be advertised. Not everyone's going to agree, but wholeheartedly, I agree with you too. And I think you're right. Whether it's in the big book or something that's in literature, whatever it is, we aren't supposed to stand on, up on a mountaintop or on top of a house and be like, you can't or you shouldn't drink.
Right.
Alcohol's evil.
Right.
Well, it's evil for us.
Right.
It's going to kill you, and it's going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
But my sister, my mom, our friends, our family, all these different people that we know that can sit down, have a drink, and be fine with it. Now, I don't know. I mean, is there any positive effect to it? I don't care, because they can do it and I can't.
Right.
I mean, that's all I need to know. So, yeah, I figured you were in the same thing. I've listened to every single one of her episodes all the way through. There was one where and that's why I can imagine some people have probably shut us off when we've had some of the clicker or technology issues. It was one. It was so bad. It was giving me a headache, so I shut it off or flipped to the next one because I couldn't get through. It was giving me a headache.
Right.
But based on content, that was the first time that I almost shut it off, and then she calmed down for whatever reason. But it was I don't know. It was crazy. It was just really crazy. So here's the other thing I saw, and this was a headline on an Instagram post. And it was, I didn't listen to the episode, but it was for a different podcast. But it said, why some people make it and some don't. And this is it's a recovery-based podcast. I know that much. So, Mike, why do you think some people make it and some people don't?
Never have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path.
Where is that, Mike?
I believe that is in the big book. And that, for you kids that are sticklers for the big book, the word never is in the original, which they read at Founders Day every year. Yeah, you do the work, you get the results. People fail because they don't follow the program, period.
Right.
It's that simple. You know, we're sitting here sober today because we work the program. You know, if we stop working the program, I can't speak for you, but I can speak for myself. I stop doing what I have to do on a daily basis. I'm picking up again. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. Thoroughly. So I do the little things I have to do every day to stay away from that first one. Period.
Right. Yeah, and I can't wait till next year at Founders Day. I love when they read that original version. It's a trip. But yeah, so here's the other thing too, and I've heard this in leads, and I've seen it posted, and I've heard it in discussions. The thing that I don't like that people say, and I don't know, I don't even know if you and I talked about it, but it just popped into my head when you had said that, or when you were talking about that. I don't like people that say, if I can do it, you can, or if I can do it, anyone can. Right. Because the reason I don't like that is because not everyone stays sober. If that were the case, then there'd be no such thing as a relapse. If I did it, anyone can. That's so untrue. Now, there's a different story. If everyone follows the suggestions, the steps, works the program, so that's what Marty used to say, right? Marty used to say 100% of the people will stay sober if you do what we suggest, if you do what we tell you, if you follow our guidance, if you listen to us, but he never said, hey, if I can do this, anyone can. And it makes me nervous when people do that, because I think it gives either it gives a false sense of security, or there's got to be somebody, sitting back going, well, I can't do it. What does that mean? Just because you're saying that, what's wrong with me? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's people back there that, or people out there that feel that way. But now the one thing I said in a lead one time, it was when I led the club that I went to in Wisconsin, in Mequon. I had said, so, because it just popped into my head while I was leading. I'm like, here's the way that I look at this. I said two different ways. I said it's like if you're a sports fan, if you're a football fan, for instance, it's like walking onto the field and each team actually exchanging playbooks. So literally everyone's on the same page. I'm like, that's what this is. I said, or walking in to take the hardest test of your life, and the answers are right there for you to look at. It's you have to take the test, but all you have to do is look over here. Right. Here's all the answers. Everything is given to you. All you have to do is follow it. Follow the other person's playbook. Those that walk before us, right? Or you've got the answers to the test. Someone walking up to you and say, here's how to do it, Right. So given that, I mean, when you think about it, I don't see how somebody can fail if, and again, there's that if you do all these different things. Again, making the cake, right?
Yep, exactly. Following the recipe.
Right.
Yeah.
I still, when you brought that up, and whatever that was a few episodes ago, that's I forgot that Joe used to say that, but that was one of the greatest things on earth, because it's, number one, it's true. Right. And it's relatable. And it's a visual too, because I mean, I think everyone, you could probably fuck up Jell-O if you don't follow the directions. Yeah. It comes out runny, or it comes out like a brick. I think there is a possibility of messing up Jell-O. So, But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. That was just kind of a passing thing. Now, other thing that I brought up, and this is what I was actually going to ask Chris about, because this just popped up. Once again, it was either an Instagram post or, well, there was a couple of them, but there was or on the podcast. So when let's say with Chris, for instance, when Chris and you first connected, how long? So obviously this is this initial dating thing. It wasn't like the other individual that you actually knew through somebody. But so in that situation, how quickly did you bring up the fact that you were sober?
Oh, right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
In like first day that you guys were messaging, pretty much, or first handful of messages?
Well, those that don't know, we met on Tinder, and in my Tinder profile, I said I was sober. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
it was, it's kind of important to me. So yeah, I'm a sober person, man. That's what I am. And again, the anti-alcohol thing, I never said I can't be with someone that drinks. I just, as I do with most everything, this is me. This is the only thing I can control. And so I am a sober person, period. Yeah. So yeah, she knew actually before we even connected.
Well, and that's the thing. So, in the thing that brought it up, and now I know for a fact. Well, there's been dating talk on Instagram every once in a while, and I've got a short story on that too. But I think it was again a podcast. It was this dude that was talking about, and this guy had been sober for I don't even know how long, a number of years, but he had said that starting off and whatever it was, and thought his life was going to be over. How am I going to date? How am all these different things?
Sure.
But then he said that he said dating sober can be hard, which I agree with. But he made this comment about, he goes, definitely by the second or third date, he goes, that's when I let people know that I'm sober and whatever. In my head, I'm like, really? Why would you want to wait so long?
Right.
So excuse me, sorry about that. So and I've done that when I've, over the years, and not that I've met a ton of people, but I've met enough people where the conversation has come up. Once that it becomes a conversation, and there are some dating apps where you can put on there that you do or don't drink. Some, granted, you can put it in the profile. Right. But I know a lot of people don't necessarily. I don't say a lot of people, but let's say some people don't focus on that. But as the conversation went on, it's kind of like, okay, tell me something about you, and I'll tell you something about me, type, whatever it is. But I always go into that. I don't drink. I've been sober for X number of years, big part of my life. Right. Here's my deal. Like you just said, exactly. This is who I am. Yeah. And I've said the same thing, that, I'm not saying that I can't be around somebody who drinks, but I don't think I could be around somebody who drinks on a regular basis. I don't think that'd be good for me. Right. I just don't, and probably sooner or later would just piss me off, because then I would, I'd be like, man, this is what I used to be like. Ugh. Right. But I know how I was. I'm like, I don't want to date, the female version of me. But yeah, and it's only been a couple and we're talking 12 years, but a couple of people very kindly said, hey, congratulations, and I give you a lot of credit for what you're doing, but I don't drink a lot. But here's the deal: I love sitting out on a patio and having some beers, or having a glass of wine, or doing this and that. Right, it's something I enjoy to do, and that's part of my life. And I don't think that we would line up very well. And I'm like, that's cool, you know. And I thank people for being open about that, because I just can't imagine if whatever the thing is, if I found out, like 2-3 dates down the road, and this is a lifestyle thing, right? So I just think it'd be, if you weren't right up front with somebody, I don't see the point. I just don't.
Right. And, and part of the thing that I've learned by working this program is I need to be honest with people. Imagine that.
I knew that was coming. which again, some of these things I'm like, I wonder if he's going to get to the honesty thing. So yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. From what we're told, that honesty thing's kind of important, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
So this is something I had written down from a few weeks ago when we were talking about like normies versus alcoholics and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And this was an afterthought, probably 2 episodes after we had talked about it. But so what about, and let's even take out the new age terms like gray area and sober curious and all that shit. Let's say
Uh-huh.
somebody walks up to you, current day Mike, sober for
Mm-hmm.
12 years and a few months,
Mm-hmm.
and they're in between. They're maybe they're not a real alcoholic, but they have a concern, and they know
Mm-hmm.
you're sober, and they come up and they ask you for advice. However,
Mm-hmm.
if whether it's subtle or anything like that, what would you or how would you handle that if somebody just, and again, this random person, not random, but you probably know who they are, but you know what I mean?
Right, right. Um, well, I mean, I again go back to the literature, man. Start asking them. Is it negatively affecting your life? Is it? Are you are you hurting the people that you say you care about? Um,
Stop
is it?
doing that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and Christ knows you don't have to be an alcoholic to do that. People hurt each other all the time. Um, yeah, if they're concerned, again, what this whole thing is, you look at yourself, be honest with yourself. There's that word again. Are you really hurting others? Um, I don't care if I'm hurting myself anymore. I didn't care then. I still don't care whether I'm hurting myself. You know, I don't do this again. All the wonderful things in my life that have come to me because of this program are byproducts of doing the next right thing, being a good boy, not hurting people. My happiness, my peace, my serenity, my material things, all of that, they're all byproducts of me doing the next right thing. And, they're not the goal. My goal is not to be happy today. My goal is not to be comfortable today. That was my old life. That was my goal, to be happy, to be comfortable. And I used alcohol and drugs to get there. Today I am happy. Today I am comfortable because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I don't have guilt and shame and remorse in my life today. Pretty good thing, man.
Yeah, it is, right? But
Yeah.
and I mean, it surprisingly, and I don't even know if it's surprisingly, but I haven't had. I can think of one individual that came up to me, and I had a few different conversations with this individual over
Mm-hmm.
probably a couple year period. It was the same thing. It was well, you know what? Geez, I do this every once in a while, kind of like without the person saying it. Does that make me an
Mm-hmm.
alcoholic? And I again usually the thing like you said, in a it probably depends on the person, but figuring out the right way to say, is it fucking with your life? Are you fucking
Right.
with other people? Are you
Mm-hmm.
fucking yourself up?
Mm-hmm. Right.
but figuring out the nice way to say it,
Right.
and yeah, they do say that in the big book. You start talking about yourself and your story,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
never accuse, but tell them all these different things, and basically allow that person to see the similarities, and then they have to make the choice.
Right.
But I've had individuals come up to me asking about other people. It's a cousin, it's a brother, it's a friend, it's
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and this person's doing this. Have them reach out to me if they got a question.
Right.
I'd be more than happy to help them. I can't fix the person, but I can give
Mm-mm.
them some guidance.
Right.
So yeah, but like you say that, and this is part of, and I know we've talked about this, is just living this life that we live. Once we start living a sober lifestyle and people start
Mm-hmm.
seeing that, and in worst case scenario, especially if it's a family member, it's a friend or somebody like that,
Right.
at least we know we're giving that person, I don't know, permission to come up to us at any point
Mm-hmm. Sure.
if they have a problem, which I think is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that goes back to what you said before about not having this vengeance against alcohol. Because if you
Right.
think about that, if you had vengeance against alcohol, and I don't think a random person would come up to you, right?
No, absolutely not. Right. Yeah. Alcohol is evil. People that consume alcohol are evil and bad people. We know better than that. Yeah. It's again, I'll always go back, man. Alcohol is just a symptom. So it's yeah. The root of our troubles is selfishness and self-centeredness. And yeah, like I said, I want to feel good all the time and fuck you. That's my problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, just it's made me feel good when people come to me like that, because then
Absolutely.
and it's one of those things where I know I'm living the the best life.
I'm
No,
living my
but I
best
mean,
life.
right. But I am living the best life that I know how to live,
Mhm.
based on what was taught. And I know I'm doing the next right thing. And I'm not always
Right.
perfect, but then we have the
Mm-mm.
10 step that we talked about. We can apologize,
Mhm.
these days and all that stuff. So, yeah, when someone trusts me enough to open up, or to even ask about a family member or a close
Right.
friend, I'm just like, damn, and then I start to, it's almost like an emotional feeling, it's like, wow, it's pretty fucking cool. All I'm doing
Mhm.
sitting over here reading a little book, going to a couple of meetings, telling
Mhm.
some jokes on a podcast,
Right.
and, and somebody wants my help, and I'm like, that's pretty cool,
It is.
Again, it's that warm and fuzzy feeling that
Mhm.
hopefully we get every once in a while. So okay, cool. Well, and I'm looking at timing here. There's two more things that I want to talk about.
Right.
So I mean, there's other things I have on here, but these are more kind of fun things. I didn't really talk about the web store much, so I want to dip into that real quick, just because we had well, I was rambling about, we were bitching about our technology. So don't forget, anyone, we have a bunch of different merchandise I'm actually thinking about. So somebody just, and I don't know who did, but just so you know, Mike, somebody just bought one of our hoodies.
Cool.
It's this We're Not Mature hoodie. I was
Mhm.
thinking of putting some of the other sayings on there, and just trying to spread that out a little bit,
Mhm.
because even though, and I put that on Instagram, hey, I'm like, hey, if you want any of the sayings on any merchandise we have, I could do that. Literally, it
Right.
takes minutes.
Right.
But it's a great way for you guys to, if you want to support the podcast. We don't make a ton of money off of it, but any money we do, when you remember, if you listen back at the beginning of this, we had another technology issue pop up, and part of it, getting this out, I know I was thinking in my head, I'm sure you were thinking the same thing, is how in the fuck are we going to record this if we
Mhm.
can't? We don't have another option to record this right now. We
Right.
could scramble, figure it out, but neither one of us want to do that shit anymore. So that's like number one.
Mhm.
Um, the other thing too is Apple Podcast, Spotify. Please take a minute and go on those. If you're listening and even a portion of what you're hearing is even semi enjoyable, or maybe I'm trying to lower the standards here. Maybe it's not even gross,
Right.
Uh, but think about it this way:
It
everything
doesn't
that Mike,
completely make your stomach turn.
right, and then everything that Mike was just talking about a minute ago, the fact that we're, helping people and trying not to hurt people and things like that.
Mhm.
On the side of things, there could be, and I'm just going to say, I know for a fact there's other people out there that might want to hear what we're talking about. So
Right.
if it be the case that if you rate it, and the more ratings we get and the higher ratings we get, it pops up in the search engines, just like a Google website or anything else. When
Right.
it comes to these podcast sites, if somebody searches for a sober podcast, we're going to show up more towards the top. We're
Mhm.
small. We don't have thousands and thousands of plays, but people can still find us, or share it with somebody. If you think they
Right.
might be interested in it, share it on your Instagram page. That's all we're looking for, is um, that type of, just spreading the love type of thing, if you want to put it that way. But if you want to buy a T-shirt, if you want to donate, the donate tab is in the highlights on our Instagram page, also on our website. Any donations that go towards trying to make the technology better on this, if nothing else.
Mhm.
But yeah, we'll keep adding merchandise, and if anyone has any ideas, let me know. It literally takes me about 5 minutes to put together a T-shirt, a sweatshirt, a tank top, whatever the deal is. It's not hard at all. But the last thing I wanted to talk about was next week. So if everyone remembers, Mike came up to Wisconsin back in March.
Mhm.
To go to a concert to see the band Greta Van Fleet, and then they're playing with Rival Sons, and what's the other?
The Velveteers.
Velveteers, which Mike and I, both of us started listening to those because Rival Sons you listened to beforehand, am I correct?
Yeah. I've been into them for probably 8 or 9 years.
And I knew that I had heard maybe one song by them, and I heard the name probably from you, but you never heard of the Velveteers before, did you?
No, I hadn't.
And I enjoy the hell out of them. They're a lot of fun. So we're going up to that concert got rescheduled. We're going up to Green Bay. Concert's on Tuesday. Mike's coming in on Monday. We're going to hang here in Indiana for the night. Head up, I think, and I'm trying to organize it. We're probably going to have to stop by and see Derek real quick because he's grabbing mail for me.
Cool.
Hopefully we can stop by. We should be able to see Kimmy. She might want to grab something to eat with us, so we might be able to grab like early dinner, late lunch with her. Then we'll hit Green Bay concerts. So we're making a little whirlwind trip, but then heading back Wednesday because you're heading back home Wednesday, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So and I'm back to my lovely job again on Thursday also. But it'll be fun. It's it cuts up the week and we get to take a little bit of a road trip.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll take some pictures and I mean we're not going to record while you're up here. That's middle of the week
right.
But, we can take pictures and it'll be fun. A little bit of road trip for us. So but yeah, those are pretty much the last two things I just wanted to mention. But I don't think. I mean, I've got other things on here, but kind of unimportant. Not unimportant, but things that we can
we'll get to them.
Right. And we not messed around in the beginning, maybe we would have. But no, I think we ended up talking about some good stuff here. So So we're in hour 2, so we're going to cut it off a few minutes earlier than we have over the last week. Oh, Jesus, I'm sorry. I got one more thing. I will send you the information on this, Mike. We were approached by an app. It's DENOVO. It's an app, and basically what it is, it's like a sober recovery, kind of sober type of recovery app. Accountability, blah, blah, blah. So I looked into it a little bit. The person sent me links. They're looking for, as he put it, influencers who can promote the app. They're new. They only have like 500 downloads. I looked at that part. What I'm going to do, I'll send you the information too. We'll take a look at it. But we have somebody that might want to do some sort of a collaboration. But it's a sober app. I just want both of us to look at it. And I said, hey, we're open to looking things like that or looking at things like that and doing a collaboration. But I'm like, yeah, we both got to look at it and make sure that it's something that fits for us. But I don't know. Hey, whatever helps to keep somebody sober, and that seems like what they're trying to do. But
cool.
I don't know yet. But I'll send it off to you. So
all right, cool.
Well, and again, I don't even know why I think in my head to ask you this, Mike. Anything else on your mind?
No, not a damn thing.
All right, man. Well, close us out.
All right, then. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. As always, rate us, give us 5 stars, buy a t-shirt, buy us a cup of coffee, be good to each other, do something good for somebody else this week. And as always, fuck off.
I don't even know why that makes me laugh anymore, but it always does.
And that's why I continue to do it.
I know. I love it. Well, all right, brother. I love you, and obviously you and I
love you too. Yep, absolutely, man. All right,
man.
Bye.
As always, thank you for listening to another episode of Sober Not Mature. To access all of our content and interact with us, please visit our website, SoberNotMature.com. Thank you again for listening, and we will talk to you soon.